everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark. Today I want to discuss with you all the new feature updates that Poshmark has released in the last several months on the app. There are so many different updates that they've released, and like a lot of the times they release these very discreetly and a lot of people don't know about them, so I want to discuss those with you right now. There are 5 features that I want to talk about that you should be using to make sure you are very successful on the app. If this is something that interests you, please feel free to keep watching and subscribe and like for more. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first feature I want to talk about is the message the buyer option that you can now do. So before, when you would make a sale and you'd want to talk to the buyer, you would have to comment on their bundle or comment on the listing itself. Now there's actually an option to message the buyer, which is a private chat between you and the other buyer, and it's not like, you know, on the bundle, it's not on the listing, it's through a separate chat window. So it's really helpful because you don't have to have, like, you know, the record of that on the listing itself in a comment or anything, and I feel like it's just an easier way to get in touch with the buyer, and it's a lot better than it just being like public comments. And so it's also easy too, because if you have other things that you're bundling for someone and you want to just message them about that specific order, you can message it through that order, and it makes it a lot easier to track. So this new feature is great, and I've actually had a couple people who, you know, once they bought something from me, I will either message them or, you know, check with them to make sure they got the item and that everything was okay, or if they left me a review, whether that be good or bad, I will then message them and just, you know, check in with them. So if it's good, I will, you know, thank them for their purchase and also tell them if they want to come back, they can, you know, get a discount for being a second buyer. Or if it's a bad review, then I can kind of message them and say, like, look, what's up? Like, I want to know what is wrong with the order. I want to make things better between, you know, us, and I want to, you know, do whatever I can to ensure that you have a better experience going forward. So it's a really helpful tool to use, and I know I've been waiting for them to do something like this for so long, and so I'm very glad they finally released this. And so if you're not already using this, all you do is go into the order and then you'll see like message the buyer, and you can click on it and then it starts like a chat. It's very simple to use, and it gives them a notification in their feed when you have a message from the person, so it sticks out, so it's not just going to get lost. It's very clear that you have a message from them. The next feature I want to talk about is the closet QR codes. So this is also really helpful to use. This is when you're sharing your closet with someone out and about, or if you are sharing it on like Facebook groups or Instagram or any other platforms. Like, I know I share mine all the time. Instead of giving them your handle, because sometimes like people forget the handle, or they don't remember, like, you know, if you have underscores or dashes or anything in it, so sometimes it gets really tricky to remember, and sometimes people just forget. So the closet QR code you could take a picture of and then send it to someone and they can scan it, and it makes it so much easier to connect with people, and you can follow their closet from there. And if you're out and about and you're sharing your closet with someone, they could scan your QR code right on your phone, like you would do like with a restaurant or any other QR code, and it brings you right to your closet. So this is a nice feature. It's not necessarily a must-have, and I don't know if many people were really asking for it, but I will definitely be using it, and I think it's definitely helpful. It's one of those features that you didn't know you needed until you had it, and then once you have it, you're like, wow, this is really helpful. And so this is really nice, and you can see this from your page, so it's really easy to find. And so like I said, you could use this to share your page with people, or you can, you know, use it when you're out and about. But it's just a good way to connect with other Poshers and not have to remember handles. Okay, so the next feature I want to talk about is matching the buyer's last offer. So at first when I saw this, I was like, why would I want to do that? Like, I clearly didn't want to accept their offer in the first place because I wanted to make more on the sale. And so like I didn't really understand it, and a lot of other people kind of felt the same way. But the more that I thought about it, the more that I actually think this is a good feature, because instead of just, you know, the buyer not accepting your offer and then that being it and you not making the sale, this gives you another chance to actually make the sale. And say you were thinking that you were going to be able to get a little bit more, but then, you know, they didn't accept or they didn't respond to your offer, and so then you're like, well, I guess I'm not going to be able to sell it for more, but you really want to just sell it, and, you know, you're willing to accept what they sent you, but you were hoping to get a little bit more. You can send them the last offer that they sent you, and you kind of match the buyer's last offer, and that actually gives you a shot at making the sale. And it makes it so, you can open that communication again with someone. So like say you mistakenly did it, or you just again thought you could make more, but then you were willing to just accept it because you saw that they weren't willing to go to you, you can accept it. So this is really nice, and I like want to use it. I haven't gotten to a point where I had to use it yet, but like I will definitely be using this if there comes a time where I got an offer and then I countered, and then, you know, they didn't accept my offer, but I was, you know, willing to accept theirs. And you may think, well, why would you need this? Why wouldn't you just accept their offer to begin with? Because sometimes we think that we can get a little bit more for the item, or sometimes we're just like kind of hoping we will get a little bit more. But the more that I think about it, sometimes when I counter, it's like you counter back and forth a couple dollars, or, you know, whatever it is. And a lot of the times it's not worth getting that extra couple dollars that you would have gotten just to make the sale. So I always wait, and I always, you know, hope that I'll get the right buyer that will be willing to purchase for the right amount. But I know that that doesn't always happen, and sometimes I'd rather just make the sale and move on and get rid of the item that's taking up good inventory. If it was a good item that I really wanted to keep around, I would keep it around, but it probably wouldn't have a hard time selling. So this is just a good way to get things moving out of your closet, and a good way to open up that communication again with the buyer. Okay, so the next feature that I want to talk about is the Select All feature. So this was something they released a few weeks back that everyone got really excited over, including myself. And this is just a good way to be able to share your closet without having to click each individual listing, or, you know, check off each individual listing. So this feature is actually not as, you know, good as I think a lot of people would have hoped it to be, because you still have to kind of scroll through your closet to use it, but I think it's definitely an improvement of where it was before. So this feature allows you to select all of your items by clicking the Select All button, and then if you're on a mobile device, you need to scroll through your closet until it selects all of the items. So a lot of people will tell me, oh, it only selected the first 40 and it only shared those, because you have to scroll through your closet on your feed, and I'll show a demo of this too. But you basically scroll through until it gets all of your listings that are available, and make sure before you start scrolling that you have it filtered on only available items, because if you have it filtered on all your items, it's going to want to share your sold items as well. So filter it on only available, and then scroll through. And so for me, I scroll through until it gets to about 270 items, give or take, and then, because that's just how many I have available now, and then once I scroll through and it's done, then you hit the share button, and then it will automatically go through and share all those for you. So no longer do you have to tap each item to select it, no longer do you have to hit share on each item. That was like the old school way of doing it. This really makes it easier to share all your items in bulk. Especially if you have a lot of listings. It doesn't take long. I think for me, I timed it out. It took me about 3 minutes to share from, you know, scrolling through to then it sharing all of them. So it's definitely quicker than the old method, and it's definitely easier, because I don't know about you, but like I would always click through and, you know, check off each of the items, and then something would get unclicked, and then I'd have to go figure out what was unclicked. So this just makes it really easy, because then you just scroll through and you know that everything's gonna get clicked. So again, 2 things to remember with this feature is make sure you have available items only selected in the filter, and make sure you scroll through the items for it to share all of your items. But again, I love this feature, and I really think it's helpful, and especially for those that don't have a VA that need a quicker way to share their closet. This is what you can do. And while this doesn't work for other people's closets, like I can't share other people's closets this way, it's helpful for those that want to share their own closet. And so I use it on a day-to-day basis, while I also use my VA. I think my VA is just, I use that for a lot of other things with my sharing, but also just, you know, for delisting and relisting and sending out offers and stuff like that. But I also do share my personal closet myself sometimes, and so I will be, you know, using this feature, and it will go so much quicker than the old method. So I love this feature. I do think it could use some improvements along the way, you know, where you don't have to select through or, you know, scroll through all the items. But you know what? I'll take what we can get at this point, and maybe Poshmark will release an updated version in the future. And the last feature I want to talk about that they released recently was being able to rotate your photos in your drafts. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll take the photo a certain way, like on my phone, like I'll take it horizontally instead of vertically, because that's how I can get the best angle of the shot. But then when you would go into your drafts, it wouldn't rotate, so it would just be like the wrong way, and it wouldn't look very good when you're scrolling through the listing. But now they released a feature where you can kind of rotate the picture, and so you can make it the right way, which really helps because it makes your closet look more professional when you're going through your listing, because everything is the same way and it looks like all formatted correctly. So I think this is a great feature, and I think a lot of people are going to use it now that it exists. But again, it was one of those things where I didn't really think it was really needed, but like once it, came out, I was like, wow, this is really helpful, especially if you take your photos, the wrong way. So having this option is very helpful, and I will definitely be using this if I ever take the photos horizontally. So that is a wrap on all the 5 feature updates that they have released in the last couple of months. I think these are all really helpful tools that you should be using on the app, and whether it be, you need to be able to message the buyer in a certain way, or you need to be able to rotate the item in your listing, or, you want to select all. I think all of them, including the other 2 that I listed, are all very helpful, and you should definitely use them and take advantage of the updates that Poshmark has released. And a good way to keep in the know with these feature updates that they have is you can either check out their Instagram page where they put all their updates, or just check out in the newsfeed. If you refresh the newsfeed at the top, where above all your notifications, it kind of lists out if there's ever a new feature update, or if there's, something going on Poshmark, whether that be a party or an event. So it's really helpful to use that feed, because that's where they release all this kind of stuff. So I always see the blurbs of oh, a new feature, and then this is what it is. And it tells you how to use it. It tells you what the purposes of it is. So if you don't already use that newsfeed for, learning about Poshmark and the new features, definitely check it out. I used to just kind of refresh and, not look at that information, but it's also really helpful because it tells you trending brands. It tells you different information that you definitely want to know, about the app. So definitely use that. And if you haven't already been, feel free to check it out. And let me know down below if this was helpful, if you've already started using some of these features, if you like these features, or if you aren't using any of them. I'm curious how your reaction is to all these new features that they have released in the last couple of months. And if you're interested in watching things that you should and shouldn't do on Poshmark, feel free to click right here. And if you're interested in any different reselling products that will help you with your business, whether that be a backdrop, a mannequin stand, a fabric shaver, a steamer, anything that you could possibly need for reselling, click right here. I have all the products that I use listed out, and I talk about each one and why it's important to use these. And I think especially if you are starting out or if you're a new reseller, this is definitely a video you want to watch. But until next time, I will see you then.